Of the Township Committee to order, and can we stand for the flag salute, please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9, 2017, and the Atlantic County Record on January 11, 2017. Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mrs. Lenk?
Here.
Mr. Shanker?
Here.
Mr. Silva?
Here.
And Mayor Kurtz.
here. And could we have a moment of silence for private reflection, please? Addition and deletion of late agenda items be considered for tonight's action. I just want to mention that we have another deletion to add to that list. We're going to delete item 6B from the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain. Thank you. 2, early public comment on agenda items excluding items listed for public hearings. Mike,
Mr. Mayor, I'm Mr. Percy.
come on up, Jack.
Good evening to you all. John Percy from the beautiful section of Lyle.
Jack, would you speak into the mic?
Would you ask me to do that again, please? You want me to swallow it? Listen, just a curious question. Resolution to authorize the purchase of one Nissan vehicle. When did we start buying foreign versus buying American, and why?
Mike, I'll let you.
I believe it's the only pickup that we could find on state contract. Phil,
What?
is that accurate?
No other vehicles on state contract
No
for a
other
pickup truck?
pickups.
Pickup truck? Unbelievable.
We were looking for a small pickup or SUV for construction inspection, and that's really the only thing that was out there were the Nissans through, what's it, Route 23 Auto Mall. The Monmouth County Co-op, which is primarily for police, they had a larger SUV and increased cost with that too. So based on the need, really, we went with the Nissan.
Strange. Nobody wants the business, I guess, huh? Okay.
By the way, Jack, that's a good comment. I think many of us felt the same when we saw it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, with all the advertisements out there for the different manufacturers for, whether it's General Motors, Chrysler, or Ford, that they didn't have something like that. It seems strange, you know that.
Sure does.
It really does.
You go past these auto dealerships and you see them laying all over the place, but nobody wants to go on state contract, I guess.
But you did say a small pickup, right? Maybe that's the problem. Is that the problem? That it was a small pickup, or do we have American-made smaller pickups?
Yeah, there are.
All right.
Colorado's like
Colorado, yeah.
Would that do the job?
Unfortunately, they're not on state contract at this point.
They're not?
No. That's, again, in looking through the state contracts and even the other in-state purchasing cooperative. That was the only one.
I think one time before, I know it wasn't here, was at the authority, that when we couldn't find something on state contract that we actually went out to bid, advertised and everything, and got the thing cheaper than state contract. So, again, I mean, I can understand the concern about getting a Nissan. I'm not against them, but I prefer that we get American vehicles.
No, I'm not against the vehicle, it's the...
No, I have
I'm not
no
against the car itself.
axe to grind with it, but it seems like it's strange after all these years of what's been available, and all of a sudden now it doesn't seem it is.
I just thought I'd ask a question.
How much cheaper is it? Do we know?
I don't know. Phil researched
Phil?
this.
How much cheaper is it? Well, you have no basis for comparison,
No
so...
basis for comparison. I think that from their list price for the vehicle, The state contract was approximately, my recollection, about, I want to say $5,000 or $6,000 cheaper than
Substantial.
what their base price would be under a normal situation. And same thing with the options that are, being requested as part of the purchase. It's still at a lower price than the list price.
That'll probably be the first unit like this that we would have in our inventory, right? That is,
Probably.
Does that present any problems? Not now at the garage.
Well, what,
Once it's off warranty, I mean, they might, different set of parts.
one consolation is that it's probably made in America.
It is.
Like, this, yeah. This
50% of
sign
the components come from this country,
How about
They just built a new
That's a plus.
plant.
and it's built in Mississippi.
Yeah, wow.
How much was the final purchase price?
That's the final purchase price in the,
25, 9, 85, 10.
Mike, did you have anyone else?
Oh, no one else?
Okay, great. On to item 3, discussions, formal actions may be taken. A, request for place-to-place transfer of liquor license number 012-33-021-009 Baker and Carlson LLC. We're going to have Bob, could you comment on that for us?
I can.
Thank you.
This came in October. What we're doing is, the clerk's office has formally recognized that we have receipt of this. What I want to do is tell you that the law requires that the place-to-place liquor license transfer requires it to be advertised in the newspaper on 2 occasions. And they have to be a week apart, and if there are objections, then there's a hearing. I was contacted by counsel for the applicant, excuse me, and I assured them that there would be no discussion on the merits tonight. There can't be, because you have to invite comment. If there's an objection, there will be a hearing. If not, I'll direct you on how we should proceed after the 2 advertisements in the newspaper. So you don't need to do a resolution. You just need to know that I'm going to leave here tonight and direct the applicant to advertise in the newspaper the place-to-place transfer. At a subsequent meeting, we will address the comments of the police department and the zoning office, but we cannot do that here.
Great. Do we need a motion to
You don't.
authorize you to do that?
You don't. You just need to know that I'm going to do that when I leave here.
Okay, so there's no action needed to be taken on this?
Absolutely none.
Absolutely nothing. Okay. We're going to go on to 3B, 2016 audit report. Resolution certifying the governing body members have received and reviewed at a minimum the comments and recommendations portion. I just wanted to state first that once again, the township has received a great audit report for our 2016 report by Ford Scott. There were no finding in this audit this year and also last year, but are there any other comments from committee? Roger?
Probably being the longest-serving committee member on the dais at this time, it's pleasing to see that this is the 9th audit that we have
Wow.
received, and to receive audits like that is a positive statement, and it's actually a tribute to the employees of our township, because it shows that each and every one of them is doing their job with due diligence, and they make it so much easier. And I'm sure, I see the auditor sitting in the audience, and I'm next to Dorothy, and I'm sure, could you come up to the mic, please, and just, would you identify yourself for the members of the committee?
I'm Carol Canary. I am a manager with Ford Scott and Associates, and I worked day-to-day here on the audit this year and also 2 years ago. But I do also work very closely with Leon Costello, who's the partner in charge.
Yeah, and I'm sure over time, doing as many audits that you do throughout the course of the year and everything, I mean, you've probably seen the whole gamut of things, and I'm sure.
certainly have.
But
And this
that's
one
why
is a
every time I
pleasure to
see
come
these,
to.
and being somewhat familiar with them in public entities, it's always a pleasure to see them come out like this.
Absolutely.
And again, I mean, I would just like Michael to congratulate all the employees for a job well done.
Absolutely.
And the way that they do due diligence, and I know Dorothy, I mean, having had auditing experience that you have, probably make it so much easier in having everything ready for the auditors. And I'm sure it sort of makes it go a lot smoother in the long run, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It shortens our time here. It shortens any inconvenience that
Does that
we
mean
might-
that we get a discount on the cost of the audit because it's shortened the time period?
And that's a Leon.
But thank you, I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mayor.
Well, no problem. Any other comments from committee members about the audit?
I had a question, which I was very happy with the overall report, and I certainly want to mimic the comments that that Roger just gave. There was a comment in here, though, about standard accounting practices, and I didn't understand it. And that's what I was trying to find. I don't think it's significant, so I'll find out later.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't in the findings, so, yeah, it was just a recommendation, I think.
Yeah, so the effects of the financial statements of the variance between the regulatory basis of accounting described in Note 1 and accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, although not necessarily determinable, are presumed to be material. I didn't get that.
New Jersey municipalities are very, if you have an accounting background, it's easier to explain, but New Jersey municipalities don't follow generally accepted accounting principles.
Yeah.
We are required to follow, or you are required to follow, what's called a regulatory basis of accounting. So those guidelines are stipulated by the state constitution and the Division of Local Government Services. The presentation of your report is set by Division of Local Government Services, State of New Jersey. So there's different things that we need to include in here, and also some things that we don't include that may be disclosed in the footnotes that, say, the local school district would be required to include. We're just saying in that, based on the regulatory basis, your financial statements, there's no issues. You're complying with those regulations. However, because you don't report under the GAAP basis or generally accepted accounting principles, we can't give an opinion on that basis. We're only opinion is on the regulatory basis.
Okay?
In some instances, it may be material, but we don't know.
All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Carol. Thank you. At this point, we're looking for a motion to move the resolution for the certification of the annual audit.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item C, discuss and consider authorization of a resolution to join Atlantic County as a party plaintiff in a lawsuit challenging the casino pilot law. Mike?
I'll do this, Mike.
Or Bob, can you take that one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As you know, the governor has executed the agreement and the law with respect to how casinos will be taxed for real estate value. The New Jersey Constitution requires that all properties be taxed on an ad valorem basis, and that means based on its value. There has always been difficulty in assessing and valuing casinos because up until recently, there haven't been sales of casinos. So you would approach it on the construction cost basis, you would approach it on the income basis, but you really wouldn't have comparable sales. So it's been a difficult area. And my opinion is that for years, the casinos have been overassessed. That's just my opinion. But it turns out that a tax court judge agreed with that opinion when it rendered a substantial reduction in the Borgatas taxes, which required a substantial payment back from the city of Atlantic City. This sparred the legislation. So the legislation comes in and says, instead of doing an ad valorem tax We're going to change everything as it relates to casinos. And we're going to do a pilot. And the pilot's going to do A, B, and C, and that means the county will get X percent, and I guess the county's not happy with that percent. They were hoping for 13.5. Turns out it's something like 10.5. So the county apparently has determined to file a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the pilot program. It was discussed at a recent meeting of the Atlantic County Mayors Association, and it received a positive response. Michael gave me a paper tonight which says that the law department has heard from the following towns: Summers Point, Buena Vista, Folsom, Longport, and Margate. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing that means that they've already approved it.
Affirmative, yeah.
So the county council has forwarded to my attention, and I forward to your attention, the resolution which is identified on the agenda tonight, basically saying that Hamilton Township would like to join in as a party plaintiff to that litigation. The county would be the lead on the litigation, and the last sentence says the cost of which will be borne by the county.
Borne by the county, so it's not our legal cost.
So, I can't tell you much more than that. I mean, my knowledge is based on what I've read in the paper and what I've seen in the resolution. But that's what it's about.
Okay, great, thank you, Bob. Committee, anybody else have a comment? I just want to say that this has been ongoing for a long time, and many of the other towns have approved with joining this lawsuit, and with the county bearing the cost of the legal fees. I think probably with all that, it's something that we should do. Any other committee comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I attended the Atlantic County Township officials meeting a few days ago, and it was pretty much unanimous that they all wanted to go forward with the suit, and I'm sure there are going to be other resolutions following.
There is a downside.
The cost of the,
If all of the casinos filed tax appeals, and given the backlog that currently exists, by my observations, in the tax court, a decision would not be forthcoming for some time.
Yeah.
And if the Borgata sets the stage, because places like resorts have sold, you now have, is it Taj?
Taj.
That's under
Yeah,
agreement?
I think it is the Taj, yeah.
The downside is that the county would be facing those litigations, which has the potential of doing what Borgata has done. Now, what happens is, as you know, because I handle the tax appeals for this community, we assess through the assessor's office what we consider to be the fair value of a property. And your assessor is awesome. He's excellent. And he's fair. And if you over-assess a property, you collect a tax in a given year. You got to pay it back if you lose, with a penalty and an interest. So the downside to the pilot not going through is that the casinos would have available to them the same remedies as any taxpayer in the county has, and that is to file a tax appeal. And if you prove that you're over-assessed, the money has already been collected. Now, I say that on a smaller scale because that's what I do for you,
Right.
but I would appreciate that you all have a bigger understanding of this situation than I do.
Okay,
It's interesting
Thank
to
you.
note that the Taj Mahal sold, at least according to the paper, at 4 cents on the dollar.
Cheaper than
4 cents on the dollar. And it went to Carl Icahn, I believe, is the buyer.
Yeah, Carl Ipcom was the seller.
he was
yeah.
also-
See the seller?
Yes.
Rock-
Oh, okay.
Or
Yeah,
Rock
Gingoli,
Casino.
I was-
Gingoli and
All
a few
right.
other people.
Okay.
Or the purchasers.
Bobby, does the sale price affect the assessment?
Well, yes and no. The sales price is one indicia of value when you're doing a comparable market value approach. That is comparable sales, which is the best and most reliable method of valuing real estate. But each property is different, and each casino is unique. So it is one element of evidence. It's not definitive. Because resorts, I think, sold for $28 million or something ridiculously low. And I'll bet it was assessed well over that. So,
The problem with the casinos is that when you look at what it's assessed at and what they're buying it at, they're also buying the debt that casino has. That's why these numbers are so out of whack.
Yeah,
So with these properties comes debt.
Comes the debt.
So that's one of the reasons why the numbers don't seem to be, round where they should be as far as the value of the property.
I'm not qualified to give an opinion on that.
Well, it's just
You know.
what I've read.
I know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I think the
But
other
I
thing,
can tell you that when I was dealing here, you have this thing, it's called the director's ratio. Excuse me. The director's ratio is the comparison of true value to assessed value. So when a property is sold, a form gets sent to the assessor, and that establishes, unless it's not an arm's length transaction, what the value of that property was, and it can compare to the assessment. And that happens throughout the year. And we had years here in the early 90s where the Hamilton Mall was assessed very high, but our ratio was something like 70%. So they get the comfort of the corridor above and below the 70%. Now, our ratio now is pretty good, and our collection rate is excellent. But Atlantic City is a whole other ballgame,
For sure.
and I am certainly not qualified to give you an opinion on that.
Right.
But I am qualified to tell you that when the director's ratio is out of whack, in other words, it's 80% of true value or less, then the benefit goes to the taxpayer. I don't know what it is in Atlantic City, but I know that when I talk to my assessor and we're talking about tax appeals, the best thing you can do is get it right. Because the consequence on the back end, 2 years later, when you've already collected the municipal tax, county tax, the school tax, the consequence is compounded. And beyond that, I once again will say I am definitely not qualified to say anything more about Atlantic City than that.
no, but I think ultimately where this is going, I think they're going to start pushing countywide assessment. And I don't know what advantage that's going to have or disadvantage. I just think it's going to open up a whole nother area that's going to be challenged, okay? So,
Bob, this pilot program is a 10-year program, correct? So
what we're
the 10.4, 10.5, whatever the governor's plan has finally come to, is that it? That's it for the 10 years? It's going to be the same percentage for the 10 years, or you don't?
I can't answer that.
There's a threshold if their income hits a certain
Yeah.
point. It ratchets up.
that's right.
Yes,
So it can go high.
It can go up.
And go
Yes.
up, yeah.
Can it go lower?
I did not read it could go lower. I only read that it could ratchet up.
Well, if it can go up, Michael, it can come down.
Is it based on the receipts of the casinos?
The profits of the casinos.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Well, we're looking for a motion to authorize this resolution to join as a plaintiff in this lawsuit.
so moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes,
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item number D, proposed amendment of Chapter 238, Article 2, Abandoned Real Property to incorporate recommended practices. Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About 2.5 weeks ago, communities from the county participating in the vacant and abandoned property foreclosure registration program had a meeting with the Improvement Authority and Community Champions, the vendor who's handling the registration process for all the communities. At that meeting, they proposed to make some modifications to our local ordinances for a couple of reasons. Number one, clarification. As it's worded now, abandoned property, but really it's properties that are in default. So they want to make sure that they have, all the proper terms in there, because a lot of the properties still have people either living in them as defaulted owners or even tenants in some instances. Secondly, an item they wanted to do was switch from a annual registration to a 6-month registration period. The premise is that if, mortgage company A files a registration with us in March, 3 or 4 months down the road, they could in turn transfer that property to another entity, and we wouldn't know about it for 8 more months. So that if there is a violation that we have to send out a notice on, or if there's something that needs to be done, there's a lot of time spent chasing after the wrong party or trying to find who the new party is. So by switching to a 6-month registration process, at least that way the data won't be any older than 5 months when those efforts come about. Would also include some time limits for when those transfers take place, or there's a change in responsible parties to identify them and let us know who it is. Penalties if you don't meet the timeline. So really trying to make sure that the parties that are holding the paper on the property follow through, and we know who the responsible parties are, so that if we do have to send out a notice, or if there are violations, we get it to the right people in a timely fashion, and that's the biggest thing we're looking at there. I gave you a copy of the letter we received from Community Champions, briefly outlining the program, and also a marked-up copy of the ordinance as it currently exists with the proposed changes indicated by highlighting and underlining, just so you could see what it is. Naturally, if you say, yeah, let's go with it, I'll have a copy, clean copy ready for Rita for introduction at the next meeting,
Okay.
if appropriate.
Well,
Council, have you had a chance to review this?
I have not. This is the first I've seen it. If you introduce it tonight, I would like the opportunity to
not
address.
going to, no.
No.
Okay.
I just thought I'd give the opportunity for any other comments. Bob, you want to finish? Is there anything?
Well, what I want to do is I want to look at this
Sure.
in light of the landlord registration issue that we had in the past. I need to compare apples and apples.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll report back at the next
Okay,
meeting.
great. Do we, any comment from any of the other committee members on this?
Seems
If
to me,
not, okay, go ahead,
I
Ronnie.
remembered something in there about going from $500 to $1,000. Was that,
That would be for the penalty if they either fail to register, or if there's violations that are found that are, cited in this ordinance itself. That would be in that case, it would be, at the court's discretion, up to $1,000 instead of right now it's up to $500.
that's only for a violation, though,
Phil,
is that-
isn't if we go to 6-month registration, would the fee stay the same at 500, or would it?
Probably not. They want to get more fees.
That's what I thought it was. I
I would
thought
think
there was an increase to
So we're doubling
1,000.
it? Are we going to collect twice as much?
Well, again, it would be 500 each time.
So would-
Or committee has the option, they could lower the fee. The way the contract stands is that every registration, the county and the vendor get $200 out of it, so we get the residual. Even if we made it a $400 registration fee, we're still slightly ahead of where we are right now.
Of course, wouldn't that have a tendency to make the banks want to get rid of the property sooner because they have this fee to pay every year?
And getting the properties back and in private hands and productive and occupied, it's not a
Right.
bad thing, Mr.
Well, I thought that was the whole idea, or at least part of it.
Right, and actually, that's the same question about the fee I raised with the folks from Community Champions, and, I was thinking of it, and we're thinking like a regular taxpayer, a regular consumer, who, we don't want to have to pay any more than possible. It's like, banks don't think the same way we do. So for them, it's just another cost. And they've done this, it's been done in other communities around the state, and there really hasn't been any pushback on the amount of the fee. But again, whatever the final fee is up to your discretion.
Thank you, Phil. And as our solicitor is going to look into this, what we're looking for now then is a motion to put this on the next meeting agenda.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear what the motion was.
A motion to put this item onto the next agenda as an ordinance. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item 4, public hearing, adoption of ordinances. Ordinance number 1848-2017, an ordinance authorizing a tax agreement between Clayton Self-Storage at Mays Landing and the Township of Hamilton, providing for a 5-year exemption from taxation and payment in lieu of taxes regarding the construction project described herein, located on Block 991 Lot 3-01. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on this?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain? We're looking for a motion to adopt ordinance number 1848-2017.
I move that ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Number 5, introduction of ordinances. Public hearing to be held on June 5th, 2017. A, ordinance number 1849-2017, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 36-39 in Block 280 as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton, and granting the owner or owners of real property contiguous to same right of prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, New Jersey. Mike, do you have anything on this?
Only it's a 50 by 200 lot, and the minimum bid is $200, so it's.
Oh, okay. So we need a motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item number 6, award of bids, contracts, and change orders. A, resolution authorizing the purchase of one 2017 Nissan Frontier King Cab pickup from Route 23 Auto Mall LLC under state contract T-0100 and this is for the construction code inspector. We need a motion to authorize this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
And 6B was removed from the agenda on the late list items. 6C, resolution authorizing the award of engineering, design, and construction observation services for the 2017 Capital Road Program to Dixon Associates Engineering in the amount not to exceed $85,000. Mike?
Yes, sir, this is for our capital project. We estimate our budget to be around $750,000
Right.
for the total.
Make the necessary motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item number D, a resolution awarding contract to Remington and Vernick Engineers for engineering services related to the Leapy Track hockey courts in the amount not to exceed $21,500. Mike?
Yes, this is a capital project to rehab the hockey courts, and Remington Vernick gave us a quote.
And this is for both courts?
It's for both courts,
Oh,
yes.
both courts. Okay. Any comments or any questions on this?
Are they going to have any sports court, or is
The
it
plan is not to. The
to
plan is
totally,
rehab both.
to redo them and put what, asphalt down? Okay.
Okay, we need a motion to award.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Number 7, consent agenda. We're looking for a motion to approve items A through H.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Okay. And, let's see, G. Okay, number 8, personnel. A resolution appointing Chris DeBeese, alternate fire official / subcode official, effective 5/15, with an hourly increase of $4 an hour when performing alternate duties.
Mike, would you explain why?
Yeah,
Yes,
could you tell us why?
Our fire official is going to be out for a month.
Okay, and that's why we're
So
doing this,
We
yeah.
need somebody to fill in that has the licenses,
Okay,
and we have somebody on staff, so this is just,
I'll move that resolution.
Second.
great. We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item number 8B, resolution appointing the following cove staff for the 2017 season. A, Phoebe Onamiller, beach badge checker at $9 per hour. Want to take these separately, Bob?
I do.
Okay, great.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Kurtz.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item B, Max Crispel, lifeguard at $10 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Silva? Mayor Kurtz.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item 9,
Oh, just one question.
Go ahead.
Does this complete our hiring for the Cove?
no, I think we still need another lifeguard,
one more.
more
Yeah.
lifeguard.
Okay, and we have the applications, enough of applications to choose someone? or-
No, I think we're still looking for
We're
one.
still looking for somebody on that. Okay, great,
Are we optimistic that we'll find him?
I think so.
good. Number 9, approvals. Minutes of our May 1st, 2017 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain. B, payrolls and bills total $442,120,091.
I think you want to rephrase it.
$442,120.91.
You had me, my head just spun right off his shoulders.
Yeah, none of us- none of
I
us
heard
wanted
Art
to-
choke there.
Hey, nobody wanted to say anything up here, right?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes to 442,000.
Mr. Silva?
That would be some audit report, yes.
And Mayor Kurtz.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Reports, Administrator.
I have nothing to add to the written report. Happy to answer.
Okay. Solicitor.
I was directed to monitor the sporting clay application in Egg Harbor Township, and I've been advised that it has been pulled and withdrawn
Wow.
after the second full meeting. So, as it stands right now, there is no application. What happens from here, we'll just keep my ear to the ground and let you know.
Okay.
Question, Bobby.
What happened?
They pulled the app. I mean, they have to
They
resubmit,
withdrew it.
They'd have to
True.
reapply.
reapply?
Well, I think they would, yeah, they'd have to re-advertise and reapply.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Must be some inherent reason why.
Were you there?
That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Our engineer.
Mr. Mayor, nothing to add to my report this evening. Open for questions.
Great.
How was that bike ride?
We're going to talk about that.
Long and hard.
Township committee members, I'd just like to start real quick by just mentioning, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for Home Goods store out at the Festival Mall. The women were lined up around the mall, down the block, up to Dunkin' Donuts. It was absolutely insane. It was pretty neat. I don't know how they got that many people in the store, but it's good to see that much excitement. And just talking to some of the people in line, they were from all over the area. They came that far to be at Home Goods for that opening, so it was pretty interesting. It was, again, quite a crowd. I know there was a lady up front, and I was attempting to move a cart that I thought was in her way, and she grabbed it and said, "You can't take my cart, I've been here since 5 o'clock this morning." So it was quite an interesting event. Everything went peaceful, the store had a great crowd, and we had an opportunity to meet the upper echelon management and also the new store manager. It was nice, and I thought it went really, really well.
You mentioned the women were lined up. What about the men?
Oh, there were a few.
Oh, yeah.
There were a few.
And now we won't be asked that question any longer. When's Home Goods opening?
Yeah, that's right,
God,
done.
For months.
And they've been pretty busy. Every time I go by there, the parking lot's jammed, so it's good to see a new business open there doing so well. Also, I'd like to make a comment about the Police Unity Tour. Kevin, I know you were involved in that. And how many miles did you?
It's about 180.
Wow.
From Atlantic City, there are different
Wow.
chapters that travel different distances. Some are up to 300. Some start at Ground Zero in New York. Some
Yeah.
are starting from Virginia and other places. But they're coming in from all over the country, California, Utah, Texas, Michigan, everywhere.
Wow, that's great. I know that the chief we had staff here that was involved in it. Roger, can you comment on it a little bit?
Yeah,
know
I mean,
you-
I would like to just congratulate the officers from the Hamilton
Absolutely.
Township Police Department who participated. Sergeant Pat Mueller, Officers Jacoby, Bittman, Odell, and Ware, and we had a retired police officer, Russ Bongiovanni, who went along for the ride also. So I think it's significant, and I know every year, Chief, am I correct? You always seem to have 3 or 4 that do,
Yeah, we were one for Chapter 2, which is South Jersey. This police department was part of the inaugural ride for South Jersey. I used to do it years ago, too.
well, a lot of them did, and I know my son, who this was his 3rd time, I talked to him today, I said, "You going to do any more?" He goes, "I might, just thinking about it." So I think there's a certain feeling, and I guess his comments were very interesting. He said, "You can't appreciate the adulation that you feel when you're riding into the city with all of the throngs of people that are there." Correct, Kevin?
Tens of thousands of people there at the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, lining the memorial to greet you and cheering while you ride around the memorial. It takes an hour and a half
Wow.
for all the bicyclists to get in.
That's,
And
wow.
then they're all there, and it's just an amazing,
How many cyclists were there?
2,300.
2,300?
And I understand you had some, well, he told me there was some police officers, there was one from Israel that came out,
Australia, Israel, yes.
Australia, yeah, they get a lot from around the world too, right?
Yes, Chapter 1 they went around the world and recruited some people, and they got some Israelis and some Australians this year.
And while we're on that, Mayor, I mean, we did,
Sure.
we did conduct the police interviews last week. We did it on Thursday and Saturday, and it never ceases to amaze me, the candidates and the quality of the people that we get out to be interviewed. And Chief, what was the initial number that applied?
Right around 300.
So, and then you whittled those down to the 10 that we finally got to interview, correct?
That's correct.
And obviously, I think the nice thing about it is, I think the comment that I hear the most from officers when it's generally asked is, why Hamilton Township? And they said, because we have heard nothing but good things about the department. We're highly respected throughout the state, not only that, in the county, and I think it's good to hear that. And I think it's a good reflection on the superior officers and the executive officers of the police department, of what they've been able to put together and the way they train their people. And I know now, looking at what we're moving ahead, I mean, I'm satisfied to know that we have and I feel strong that way, the finest police department in the county, so I think that's good. That's pretty much it, Mayor. And again, Kevin, thanks to you. I mean, your legs, were they moving up and down
They
for?
were like Pistons, man. I was prepared. I was ready.
All right, congratulations
Thank
to you
you.
also.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Are you going to stay in shape?
Absolutely.
Great.
Let's see.
Art, have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, the last Saturday at Home Goods was, for somebody like me, is surreal, because I just don't get it. I'm not much of a shopper as it is, but, the nice part about it is, you hear so much about companies like Sears and J.C. Penney's, these staple stores that we've known since I've known since I was a kid, are having troubles financially. Things are changing. There's new kinds of stores coming out of the ground every day. These big box stores, the electronic stores, and now these home goods types of stores. And again, it shows you that these discount stores are going to do better. People have less extra money to spend, and it's just good that it's here. It came here, and I don't know who said it earlier, but that parking lot has not been anything but full since it opened. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing for our town. We have a lot of stores, vacancies in the one strip mall, and we have another mall across the street that seems to be struggling to get going. So, to bring something like that in there that draws people from Cumberland County and the surrounding area to come up here and shop, it will entice developers to come here and other brands to come here and really develop this area. So it was a plus on, not just for the women who got to shop, but for everybody in the township, I believe. The other thing I'd like to thank the chief and the deputy chief for inviting me into the police interviews. It was very interesting. You sit down and there was 10 excellent candidates. I mean, you guys couldn't have done a better job when Roger and I sat in on the last 10. The interesting part for me was when we got done an interview and I thought, wow, this guy's great. And then the guys who've been doing this their whole lives sat there and told us reasons why this person was, little things that they saw that were concerns or little red flags, which was because, me as a layman, I kind of thought they were all great, which they were. But in the end, we came up with several candidates that we think will do the department proud, fit the community, and help the chief and the deputy chief do their job. So thank you very much, Chief. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, Roger, do you have anything else? Okay. All right, great. Judy?
I'm sorry I missed the home goods ribbon cutting. I would have liked to have been there, but I was in Florida to a convention, so impossibility. But I'm glad to hear it went well, and I'm anxious to go over there. I also think that if a lot of people come to Home Goods, they're going to go to other stores, such as the mall, to check that out. They're not just going to come, for one reason, which that's what I hope anyway. And they're going to be there eating at our restaurants and so on and so forth. So I think that is really great.
Great, thank you. Rodney?
Yes, thank you. I just want to know, with all these applicants, I'm sure that all 10 are great bike riders, right? Just kidding. We had the Veterans Advisory Board, as you know, a couple of months ago, we lost the chair and the vice chair, and they didn't want to vote immediately at the first meeting, so they waited till the second meeting. And at this meeting, Bob Campbell, who is still recovering from open heart surgery, was unanimously selected as chair. Tom Judds, who's the VFW chair or commander, is the deputy, and Al Davenport, who's the regional director for the Fleet Reserve, is secretary. We also have a young man there, a relatively new recruit, and so we're ready to go, ready and raring to go. We're going to start with the Memorial Day ceremonies, and we hope that everyone can make it. Just want to mention, I did attend the funeral of Mike Rock, and as many of you know, Mike is a World War II veteran. He has a story, just an incredible story to tell. He was pulled on gliders. He was in a glider, and the gliders were attached to a plane that flew them over enemy territory. He was in runs where 60-70% of the gliders, people started out, died. He flew many of these missions, and to hear him talk, I mean, he was just, he has fantastic respect for the people that he flew with, and a love of what he did, and he just loved to talk about it. And he used to come to our meetings despite the fact that he was in a wheelchair with stage 4 cancer for the last 4 or 5 years. He attended all the VFW meetings, and is a joy. So I'm sorry to see him go. And he had a very nice funeral up at Doyle Memorial in just above Wrightstown in New Jersey. I found that interesting because I know at one time we were running out of veterans, places to bury our veterans. It looks to me like this is a new place, but it's a huge place. It's out in the woods north of Wrightstown. But we'll miss Mike. He's made all the Memorial Day ceremonies too, so just thought I'd say a word about that. I did attend the Atlanta County Association of Township Officials, and as was mentioned, the major topic of discussion was a pilot program, and of course, everyone was in favor of the suit. So that was, and of course, they also discussed taxes. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Rodney. Number 11, public comment. Anyone in the public wish to speak?
Move to close public comment.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Abstain. Adjourn to executive session. Rita?
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that this meeting be adjourned to an executive session to discuss the following matters, which are exempt from public discussion pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law. Tavistock proposed settlement and bond litigation update, litigation and attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved that the governing body may reconvene in public session and confirm the results of the executive session if there is a majority consensus for action to be taken on the matter tonight.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Wait.
To executive session?
Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. Convene.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So we're back and open now, Rita?
Yes, and I'm recording.
All right. Let the record reflect the time, according to the clock on the wall, is 3 minutes after 8. There was only one issue discussed in the executive session, and that was the issue announced prior to going into it, and that was an update with respect to the Tavistock litigation and/or potential settlement. There was nothing else discussed. The minutes of the executive session that just occurred will be made available, at which time the confidential nature of the matter is no longer confidential.
Great, thank you, Bob. A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.